And now, let me introduce the author. Bob Carlson's expertise in retirement planning has been widely recognized by both government and private organizations. Since 1992, he served on the Board of Trustees of Virginia's Fairfax County Employees Retirement System, which has more than $4 billion in assets, and has been chairman since 1995. Folks, we're talking about one of the wealthiest counties in the country. And Bob has also served on the Board of Trustees of the Virginia Retirement System, which oversaw $42 billion in assets from 2001 to 2005. That's why Bob's retirement advice has landed in publications such as the Wall Street Journal, Reader's Digest, Barron's, AARP Bulletin, Money Magazine, Kiplinger's Personal Finance, and the Washington Post, among others. It's also why Bob's long-standing retirement columns on Forbes.com are some of the site's most widely read. So without further ado, let me welcome America's #1 retirement expert, Robert Carlson. Welcome, Bob.
Thank you, Roger, for that very generous welcome. Glad to be here.
Now, Bob, this is a very serious topic. How retirement planning and retirement itself is going to get much, much more complicated for a lot of people.
Roger, there's a lot going on right now. And like so many events in our world today, it's all happening very, very quickly. In essence, what's happened is that the foundations Americans have counted on for their retirement, such as Social Security, Medicare, and private retirement accounts, are under the worst assaults we've seen since these institutions were created. And all this is happening right when the country is living through the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. I know that sounds extreme, but when you see what's actually going on, it's not an exaggeration. Congress failed to take some needed actions and recently passed new laws that together put your retirement income and savings at great risk, including Social Security and private retirement savings such as IRAs and 401k accounts.
Let's talk about Social Security first. I've heard reports that Social Security is going to go broke sooner than we realized. Is that what experts mean when they talk about the Social Security doomsday clock?
Not exactly. The Social Security doomsday clock refers to the countdown to April 2021, when we will finally learn the truth about whether Social Security came through the coronavirus global depression intact, or if we're in for major changes to our Social Security benefits. That's why in my new book, Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity, I stress the importance of taking action right away so you can avoid the worst aspects of the possible catastrophic changes to Social Security and retirement accounts like IRAs, KEOs, and 401ks. For example, one chapter is entitled How to Practically Guarantee You Never Outlive Your Money in Retirement, beginning on page 10. Another chapter is about the surefire way to get 76% more on your Social Security payouts, starting on page 139. I also tell you how to collect tax-free payouts every month for life, starting on page 70. And on page 62, I reveal how to get paid monthly or quarterly using my retirement paycheck portfolio. Later in the book, I share the most effective ways to manage your IRAs and Roth IRAs, along with the do's and don'ts of IRA investing.
That's fantastic, but let me back up for a moment. What do you mean when you say whether Social Security will be able to survive the coronavirus crisis intact?
Well, it's a pretty complicated story, Roger. Let me try to simplify it. You see, Social Security had big problems even before the COVID-19 crisis devastated the world economy. When Social Security began in 1935, it was sold as a type of social insurance program in which a large number of people would pay a small amount of money into the system in order to ensure all retirees had a minimum retirement income. When the system began paying benefits to the first 222,000 beneficiaries in 1940, there were 159 workers paying for every one retiree. Workers paid just 1% of their salaries up to a certain amount, and employers matched this.
Sounds good.
Yes, it did sound good.
Well, then what happened?
Over the decades, the number of beneficiaries per worker and the amount of benefits after inflation increased dramatically. Plus, the system began paying benefits to spouses of workers and their children, as well as to the disabled.
So that means the taxes had to go up to pay for the benefits, right?
That's right. Some critics have insisted that Social Security resembles a Ponzi scheme because the money current workers pay into the system goes right back out to pay retirees. Like any Ponzi scheme, everything works fine so long as there's enough money from new quote unquote investors to pay out to older ones. The problem was the number of older investors expecting payments grew so fast. Pretty soon there weren't enough new investors or current workers paying into the system. Gradually, Social Security's outlays became bigger than its revenues. In other words, it began running out of money.
And that's why we're always hearing about having to fix Social Security.
That's right, Roger. In 1977 and again in 1983, Congress enacted changes to the system to shore up Social Security's short-term financing crisis. The taxes that workers and the employers had to pay into the system in order to fund benefits both increased substantially. From only 1% when Social Security began to 6.2% today. That's a total of 12.4% from both the worker and employer of income up to $137,700. Plus workers and employers also pay an additional 2.9% to fund Medicare.
Okay, did that fix the problem? I don't see why we're always talking about Social Security if we put the necessary changes in.
Well, the changes weren't sufficient. Today, some 64 million people receive Social Security payments, including 48 million retired workers and their dependents, 10 million disabled workers and their dependents, and 6 million survivors. Each and every month, the government sends out $88.2 billion in checks. The problem is this. Beginning this year, the amount of money workers pay into Social Security through payroll taxes is no longer enough to pay all the benefits promised. As a result, this year Social Security has been forced to draw upon what is called the Social Security Trust to meet its obligations, to dip into its savings, so to speak. Before the coronavirus crisis, it was estimated that these trust funds would run dry in just 12 to 14 years.
Let's talk about these trust funds. I know a lot of people say they're phony, that there isn't any money in there. Is that true, Bob?
Well, it's true that the trust funds are basically government IOUs, or bonds. You see, decades ago, when there were more workers than retirees, Social Security taxes brought in more money than was paid out in benefits. In other words, there was a surplus. A private business would have simply parked all of that extra cash in a bank account or in marketable investments for the proverbial rainy day. But Social Security is forbidden by law from investing in non-governmental assets such as corporate bonds or CDs. Instead, the U.S. government simply spent the Social Security surplus on other government programs. Whenever it spent the extra cash, the government gave Social Security an IOU in the form of a special type of treasury bond. And that is what the Social Security trust funds are, a pile of these special treasury bonds worth $2.8 trillion.
Okay, I see. But I don't really understand what the Social Security doomsday clock is all about then.
I'm about to show you, and it's going to blow you away, Roger. You see, the problem is that the U.S. government has given IOUs to a lot more organizations than Social Security. The current national debt in 2020 is $26.4 trillion, or $213,000 for each and every American taxpayer. This is money the government has already borrowed and currently owes, yet that's not counting its outstanding liabilities. Its current liabilities is all the money the government has promised to people, like Social Security recipients, that it hasn't actually spent yet and doesn't actually have. That figure is a mind-boggling $153 trillion, of which at least $50 trillion is money owed to Social Security and Medicare. So the U.S. government owes $26 trillion it has already spent and another $153 trillion it hasn't spent yet, but will eventually owe to people.
And you are saying Social Security may not be able to pay all the money it owes.
I am saying that, yes, but it's actually far worse. As I said, Social Security was running out of money already, even before the coronavirus hit. According to official estimates, the $2.8 trillion in Social Security trust funds would have been completely depleted by 2034. At that point, it would still have had revenues coming in from current workers, but it would have had to reduce the promised benefits by up to 25% to meet its obligations. That means the average Social Security payment of $1,503 would be reduced by up to $361, down to $1,142. That's per month. So it comes to $4,332 less per year for the average Social Security beneficiary. That would be devastating for millions of people who depend on Social Security to get by.
And this was before the coronavirus crisis.
Exactly, Roger. Yes, the coronavirus triggered the greatest economic collapse since the Great Depression, and at its worst point put an estimated 40 million Americans out of work. That's a low estimate that only includes people who filed for unemployment benefits. The real figure could be even higher and would include workers not covered by unemployment, the self-employed who lost their businesses, and more. And that represents a staggering loss of revenue to Social Security. Look at it this way. Last year, Social Security brought in roughly $1 trillion in revenue, $885 billion of which came from the 12.4% payroll tax paid by workers and their employers, and the rest from interest on those special bonds and income taxes on benefits. But with 40 million workers now unemployed, Social Security overnight has lost hundreds of billions of dollars in revenue. Yet it still has the same number of people expecting monthly checks. In fact, even more people are likely expecting benefits. There are reports that many people who lost their jobs during the pandemic decided to retire and file for Social Security benefits earlier than they planned, instead of trying to look for another job. This means the Social Security trust funds will run out of money much sooner than was forecast just a few months ago. That's why I call it the Social Security doomsday clock. In April 2021, we will learn the truth about the current state of Social Security's finances, which means you don't have much time to prepare.
That's horrifying, frankly. As someone who has paid into the system for decades, I find it shocking that the government may try to change the system right as I'm getting near retirement.
Well, yes, precisely. And I'm not the only one saying this, by the way, although I think I'm one of the few experts offering practical solutions. For example, analysis from the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College concluded that the Social Security Trust Fund would run out of money about 2 years earlier than estimated in the trustees' report. Even more alarming is the new study from Penn Wharton, which estimates Social Security's trust fund could run out of money 4 years earlier than the trustees' report. And writing for MarketWatch, the economist and researcher Daniel DiMartino wrote that he believes COVID-19 may deal, quote, the final death blow to Social Security and Medicare, end quote. The final blow. Think about what that means for literally tens of millions of Americans. That's why we don't have much time. We simply must act before April 2021, when the Social Security Administration releases its new report on the state of its finances.
And most Americans aren't aware of any of this.
That's right. What really gets me more upset is that any possible changes to Social Security benefits due to the coronavirus crisis are just the tip of the iceberg. You see, right when all this is happening, the government has also enacted the most devastating attack on retirees I've seen in my 30-plus years as a retirement expert, the Secure Act. It's the new law that was recently passed in Congress that could significantly reduce the value of your 401ks, your IRAs, yes, even your Roth IRAs, everything you've worked for, all that money you've put away, and the years you spent saving, Congress is taking it away piece by piece, right when the coronavirus is dealing what MarketWatch calls the final blow to Social Security.
Yes, I heard about this new law as well. It breezed through the House and Senate before being signed into law by the president. But what does it actually do?
Well, Roger, as you know, in the 1970s, Congress created a series of special retirement accounts with tax incentives designed to attract trillions of dollars into these accounts. But all of these tax-advantaged retirement accounts came with giant strings attached, the most basic of which was that you no longer had complete control over your own money. I call this the mortgage on your IRA and 401k. The government can tell you when you can withdraw your money, how much you can withdraw, and how much money you have to pay in taxes and even penalties to get access to your own money. If you don't follow the rules, the penalties can be enormous. And here's the rub. America's 75 million baby boomers are either retiring or already retired and are planning their estates. At the same time, they're dealing with emergencies such as the COVID-19 pandemic, the global economic slowdown, college tuition, rising medical expenses, long-term care, and more. Yet, just when America's retirees need their savings the most, Congress is changing the rules again. Put simply, it's going to cost you and your loved ones more, a lot more, to access your own savings and retirement funds.
Talk about getting fleeced.
Exactly. And you know Congress, Roger. They just spent an estimated $6 trillion on COVID-19 stimulus programs alone. And that's on top of the trillions they are already spending. When it comes right down to it, Congress and the government will have no choice. They have to find the money somewhere. And the best way to find it is in the trillions sitting in the retirement accounts of average Americans. You know what the 1930s gangster John Dillinger said when they asked him why he robs banks?
Right, that's where the money is.
Right, that's where the money is. If the government wants to pay its bills, it's going to come from your retirement money. That's why they're increasing the charges you and your loved ones must pay to access your money. And it doesn't even end there. There's evidence pointing to one of the retirees' biggest fears coming true, that future Roth IRA distributions won't be what they were promised they would be all along, 100% tax-free. I don't know about you, Roger, but I think it's going to make many people feel angry and betrayed.
Bob, there's a question I think many of your viewers may be thinking right now. Why haven't we heard about the Social Security doomsday clock and these new laws about retirement accounts in the news?
Well, as you know, the news is hardly news anymore. To get the truth, you can't pay attention to the talking heads poisoning TV's airwaves. They are political activists posing as journalists and expert commentators. You have to search the truth out for yourself. It won't be handed to you on a silver platter. But even some of the mainstream media have spoken out about what's happening with Social Security and the systematic pillaging of people's retirement accounts. The ultra-liberal website Salon.com put it very well. It said, quote, "If you thought it was a safe bet to put your money into retirement plans over the span of your career for estate planning, think again," end quote. And the far more conservative Wall Street Journal agreed. It said, quote, "Congress can't wait to get its hands on America's retirement account assets," end quote. It kills me to say this. People who've worked tirelessly most of their lives, people who've played by the rules, saved for college, and saved for their retirements are about to face a retirement apocalypse they could never have imagined in their worst nightmares. Millions of Americans will see tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars drained from their retirement accounts in the form of new taxes.
So Bob, I know there's light at the end of the tunnel. What can people do to protect themselves?
Well, that's why I've come on this broadcast today, Roger. My new book, Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity, is nothing less than a complete blueprint for a new kind of retirement planning, one that takes into account the possible bankruptcy of Social Security, the increased taxes on retirement income, and a desperate government coming for the money you've put away. The book is the culmination of literally decades of work. Decades I've spent developing practical strategies, proven techniques, and little-known tips to help older people protect their life savings and enjoy the kind of retirement prosperity they truly deserve.
Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity is a great title that really says what it's all about. It seems like a combination survival manual and financial blueprint for the new retirement reality we're all facing today.
That's right. I detail exactly how to keep the IRS from reaching into your retirement accounts. I show you how to protect your money and also how to substantially grow your money. I'm talking about the same facts and the exact series of steps I'm personally using to protect my own family, beginning with end-run tactics you can use to dodge Congress's new assaults on retirement accounts and help keep the retirement funds you've worked so hard to save. It's all found in Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity.
So Bob, can people get this book on Amazon?
No, you won't find it on Amazon or in the retirement section of your nearest Barnes & Noble. It's highly specific to the current crisis and highly personal. It's literally the same step-by-step blueprint I use for my own retirement. In its pages, I show you everything from how to protect your Social Security benefits to innovative new ways to boost your monthly income. For example, on page 139, I show you how to get up to 76% more on your monthly payouts. On page 105, I reveal how you can offset the spiraling costs of long-term care medical expenses, saving potentially tens of thousands of dollars. And on page 134, I show you how to create a monthly tax-free income stream to last the rest of your life. I advise all my friends and family members to use this detailed plan for themselves. I even share some elements of the plan steps in my Forbes.com retirement articles and other outlets.
That's great news, Bob, but I have to say, it sounds very daunting. After all, what can average Americans do about this new law that lets the government loot more of people's retirement savings?
Good question, Roger. In Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity, I lay out not one, but 7 distinct strategies for successfully sidestepping this new congressional looting. A few of these strategies are very simple. Others are slightly more complicated, but you can decide which are best for your goals and situation. They're all found beginning on page 65.
So Bob, it doesn't seem like you left any stone unturned.
Well, I've tried to cover every major problem area, Roger. I go into great detail about proven 100% legal strategies many people don't even think about or sometimes even know about. For example, most people don't think they need an estate plan, but the truth is everyone does. So I created an entire section on it, including the 3 changes every American should consider for their estate plan, no matter how much money you have. And here's something that catches a lot of my mutual fund holding readers by surprise. A section called Mutual Fund Tax Secrets 99% of Americans know nothing about.
It sounds like Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity goes above and beyond traditional advice.
That's right. This blueprint helps solve many of retirement's biggest challenges, like my chapter on the legal loophole that can pay down your medical costs. And there's another chapter called the Retirement Calendar Checklist, a simple strategy that ensures your retirement affairs are in order, which I think is must reading for everyone over age 55. Those are just a few of the action steps I'm recommending in my new book. The book is divided into 4 separate sections, each one jam-packed with hundreds more of these kinds of tactics and strategies. In fact, it's a complete, easy-to-understand, step-by-step guide anyone can and should use to better their retirement finances before April 21st.
Now, Bob, you spent a lot of time in your new book discussing how retirees and near retirees can boost their incomes.
That's right. For most Americans, some form of supplemental income will be needed when Social Security benefits are slashed, just to keep a normal standard of living. Social Security alone never was enough retirement income for my readers. After April 2021, Social Security is likely to pay even less. That's why retirees are going to have to learn all the strategies to maximize their Social Security benefits. They need to figure out how to get the most out of Social Security. I lay all this out in Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity. Beginning on page 62, I explain a simple move both individuals and married couples can take to put an extra $25,000 or more in their pockets. Earlier, on page 57, I reveal why the traditional 4% annual retirement withdrawal rate is often completely wrong for people today and what to do about it. In short, I've put everything you need to create your retirement plan or to upgrade your current plan together in one place.
Bob, besides protecting themselves against any potential cuts to Social Security and the looting of their retirement accounts, what else can current and future retirees do to make sure they have a prosperous retirement?
Well, in addition to getting a free copy of Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity today, I recommend that everyone consider trying out my Retirement Watch newsletter. It's a monthly advisory I've run for nearly 3 decades, tracking every issue and event that's critical to retirees. It's where I bring together all the techniques and strategies to help everyone in their golden years live their best years. I cover virtually everything about retirement finances in detail. If it's a topic that affects your retirement money, a new tax law, a legal Social Security loophole, or a brilliant way to pay for long-term care in the future, I'll share them with you and spell out the pros and cons so you can decide. I conduct my own independent and objective research. That's one reason I have so many loyal, long-time readers. Best of all, I explain things in plain English, and I give my readers all the options, all the possible outcomes, and specific action plans that can make it easy to make the right choices to maximize your retirement finances. I don't believe in cookie cutter or one strategy fits all approaches to retirement planning. Instead, I identify and spell out for whom each strategy is appropriate and who should steer clear. The fact of the matter is, retirement planning is always changing and always will. So it goes without saying that you'll need to revise your plan, probably more than a few times. That's what we help you do at Retirement Watch. And if it's not covered on the pages of my newsletter and website, or if you have a specific question regarding your retirement plan, I've made it easy for you to ask me your questions directly through my live conference calls, which I'll explain in a moment. For example, many Americans believe that Medicare or their employer's insurance will cover most of their retirement medical expenses and long-term care expenses. That's not even close to the truth. The fact is, medical expenses will be one of the 3 biggest post-career expenses for most people, and they'll only increase as the years go on. Independent studies estimate that an average married couple age 65 today will pay $270,000 or more out of pocket for medical expenses over the next 30 years. For the average beneficiary, Medicare pays maybe half of his or her medical expenses. That's why I keep my readers up to date on the truth about Medicare, Part D prescription drug coverage, long-term care, and every other aspect of paying for their medical care. What we've found is that most retirees don't have this information, so they pay too much out of their own pockets for medical care. In fact, about 90% of retirees pay more out of pocket than they need to for their medical care. That's the kind of advice I give to all my Retirement Watch members.
Yes, we're very proud to publish Retirement Watch. There's really nothing quite like it. But Bob, for people who aren't familiar with Retirement Watch, can you tell us a little more about what it does and how it helps people?
Sure thing, Roger. Every month I send out a new issue of Retirement Watch, packed full with expert answers and simple solutions to help make sure you never run out of money in retirement. It's powerful research, and it's also designed to be a retirement planning tool to help you eliminate the worry and guesswork. I also send out a weekly email update to be sure my readers receive the latest information quickly. But one thing I want to point out here, Roger, Retirement Watch is much more than a newsletter. It's an all-inclusive membership. I give every member access to my 5 Easy Chair proprietary investment portfolios. These 5 portfolios are income growth, balanced, retirement paycheck, true diversification, and sector. I created these in a personalized way so members can meet their goals for income and growth over the long term. In addition, members also get access to members-only live conference calls. There's not a single other retirement publisher I know of who takes the time and effort to host these live calls. And my members tell me it's one of the greatest perks of membership and best bangs for their retirement buck. On these live conference calls, you ask me your retirement questions directly, and I update you on the most pressing retirement issues of the day, along with updates on our 5 investment portfolios. Subscribers also get access to the Retirement Watch private website. RetirementWatch.com features the most recent newsletter issue, my free special reports, a searchable archive of all past issues and reports containing strategies and tips worth hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years, along with many other membership perks. Best of all, subscribers also gain access to our full-time VIP retirement services staff. At Retirement Watch, we know when it comes to securing your retirement, it's easy to make a mistake. That's why I employ a full-time staff to answer questions from subscribers so long as it doesn't involve personalized investment advice. Members who write to my team and me directly will get a written response within 48 hours. We also have a special online retirement spending calculator. My online calculator is comprehensive, making it hard for you to overlook expenses and underestimate the cost of retirement. It also lets you estimate inflation more precisely than other calculators, making it less likely you'll run out of money in the future. Roger, those are just a few of the members-only benefits of Retirement Watch, and you'll be eligible for all of them as soon as you become a member.
Now, for our viewers at home, I know we've only just scratched the surface in this broadcast of topics like the Social Security doomsday clock and the new law allowing Uncle Sam to attack your retirement accounts. These are all very complex topics that need more time than we have today to truly go through. And that's exactly what Bob has done in his brand new book, Guaranteed Retirement Prosperity. We here at Eagle Financial Publications believe so much in this book that we're literally giving away thousands of copies without charge. Each copy is 186 pages full of actionable ideas for maximizing your retirement finances, starting with the best strategies for coping with the looming changes in Social Security and Congress's devastating new laws that go after your retirement savings. We believe very strongly that Bob's message about the looming retirement apocalypse needs to be heard.